Welcome to Coached Soul, a podcast for a better you. Your host, Steve Hudgens, is a licensed professional counselor, and your co-host, Julia Canton, is a therapeutic coach. Together, they discuss various topics, providing a different perspective on life and insight that you are not alone. On a non-emergency basis, you may contact them at area code 918-280-8690 or coachsoul.com to provide them with new topics, feedback, or to request an appearance on the show. And now, here's your host, Steve Hudgens.
Welcome back to the show. I am so excited. Nathalie did such a great inspiration to us that she's back again with us. Nathalie, welcome again to our show.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back.
You know, there are some great topics that we've talked about. And, you know, sometimes I know it's difficult for women because research has shown that women beat themselves up 400 words per minute. Right. And women's brains, to me, is like spaghetti. All the noodles touch everywhere. And men just don't understand it because we are shoeboxes of waffles here, and we just compartmentalize. But for women, everything touches everything. And I know the last time we talked a little bit about self-esteem, of where you were growing up and you had this low self-esteem, and then all of a sudden you dug deep and now you're just exploding. Let's talk a little bit more of drawing that out of here's this low self-esteem. What caused that low self-esteem for you?
Well, it started at a very young age, and I had a health issue, which I talk about more in detail in the anthology, My 2 Cents on Self-Love. So as a little girl growing up, like I said, I'm not going to go in details, but it's a health issue it's very rare because it started at a very young age, and then it went until I was 13 years old. And oh my gosh, I thought I was like the only one with that problem. The thing is, my parents didn't talk about it, and I had to deal with the emotions. So in my previous talk with you, the conversation with you, I spoke about where art became my just my safe place. I felt good there. I felt like I was, worthwhile. But I didn't have many friends because I couldn't go in and go to sleepovers. I couldn't have my friends come in, to my house because, I didn't want them to discover anything. So I just thought I was different, and I labeled myself as an introvert, and just low self-esteem doesn't even begin to really explain how I felt. I learned to smile real big and be quiet, and I thought people would just accept me for, being a nice little Nathalie.
Here you are, hiding the secret within you.
Yes.
And,
yes.
I equate it like a seed that gets planted in the dirt. We water it, but we hide it in the closet. It's so easy to stay in the comfort of darkness and the negativity that it's almost a blanket of comfort.
Yes.
That we don't want to grow. But if we put the same plants, the same seed, and expose it to the light, we may shun the light, may not like the light, but as we grow, we get this growing pain because we're branching out, we're growing from a seed to a plant, and we resist pain. But at the same time, the pain doesn't define us. We become this beautiful plant that other people can admire. And we can admire you as a person, your artwork, this chapter that you've written in My 2 Cents. So you go from this episode of this hiding. What got you out of hiding? Because you talked about your escape in the last podcast.
I always was terrified of being judged.
Mhm.
And that kind of stuck with me for a long, long time. When I met my husband in back in Canada, because I traveled to California, I lived in Dallas, Texas. I had a career in graphic design, and I just like was high on life. I just would not stop, and we're talking about doing introspection. I did not want to do that
Mhm.
until I met my husband. I went back to Canada. I lost my mom of cancer. And I think going back to Canada and being, with my mom who was so sick, and I feel like I missed so many wonderful moments with her because I was away. I was just, just didn't want to face reality for a long
Mm.
time. Yeah. Yeah. So I did go into abusing alcohol and drugs and just partying. Like just like the nightlife was my thing. So when I came back to Canada and I met my husband as my mom was in her last days of her life, and I just kind of went. I was supposed to go back to Dallas and continue my thing, being a designer and all that, but I just fell in love with my husband, and and what he was able to do is he was my uplifter. He was the guy who made me realize how valuable I was,
Mhm.
how talented I was, and how much he said to me one day, "You would make a great mom." Nobody ever, ever had said anything like that to me.
Right.
Natalie, you're a great designer. You're a great this. You can do anything you want. You can do modeling. I did modeling. But he saw something in me that was so pushed so far deep. When he said that to me, I remember the moment exactly when he said that. And it woke something up in me. And so I lost my mom, and I decided to, I stayed in my hometown with my husband, and then had my two beautiful kids. And the more I became that nurturer woman, that person that was always there, but I was not looking at it. I
Mhm.
was just not facing myself in the mirror. And then I became that journey of introspection, and again using my art. I was always painting and drawing, but because I was doing like more of like the commercial side of things, and uh, uh, when I was away in California and Dallas, I wasn't really painting for introspection at that point. I was just doing pretty things. So I started to use my art and as more of a tool to journal through art. Art journaling became a big thing for me, and yeah. My daughter is now 24, my son is 27, and I'm here at 59, and I feel better now than I did at 40 because of growing into the woman that I always was meant to be.
But Natalie, I mean, this is a great love story.
Mhm,
A love story not only of loving yourself, but
mhm.
here's a man that created a safe place for you to land.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are good men.
Mhm.
Um, I'll do a Blake Shelton and I'll point a finger at my head and say, pick me, pick me. I'm a good man as well. It just took
Yeah.
me a while to get to where I am now.
Mhm.
But you have a man here who saw you,
Yes.
sort of like Avatar. I see you.
Mhm.
I just love that phrase because you're looking into the soul of this person and he planted the seed into you and it grew into this light of who you are as a person.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's all because one person believed in you.
Absolutely.
And how much better would this world be if we started believing in one another? And you bring about judgment. And I'm like, can we just do away with judgment and accept people for who they are, where they are, that we just
Mm.
experience life in just a different way? We
Mhm.
did an earlier podcast about drunk for life and drunk on life. And it's just this aspect of don't lay in the wake of what a boat just did, and you're easy working with the waves, but get in the boat and go forward, explore life. And here you are, you were exploring life, but you change from drugs and alcohol and that party life to a very chaotic, to a very calm place. And here you are in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Misty Lee, our publisher from Campground CBD Publishing, reaches out and says, Nathalie, share your story. What did you think when you got approached to write your story about you and your journey for this book?
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I was like, forget it. So as a painter, and I did a video yesterday about that, I've always said, oh, painting is my favorite way of self-expression and communicating with others, my deep emotions and all that. It's so easy for me to paint something and make people feel the emotion. So anyway, since I wrote my chapter and put that story on paper, figure of speech, I discovered that I love to write. It took me from like just writing, social media posts, and I used to have a blog a long time ago, and my husband my husband's like, you are a great writer. When I read something that you write, because I used to create those blogs, he says, I want to read it all the way to the end. You bring me onto on a journey. And I was like, oh, all right, thanks. Yeah. But I didn't believe in myself again. So I center-corrected. I believed in myself, but I was afraid of being judged or not being good enough, or, So when I accepted, it was like, I think I was, if not the last author to jump in, not far from it. I was like, okay, I'm doing this because I know I have a story in me. I have a book in me, probably several books in me. And Nathalie the artist is also Nathalie the author. And it's always been, I think we stop ourselves from experiencing our best selves because of whatever reason, because of negative chatter, because of, we're our worst critic. So get rid of the critic and just embrace life.
But research has shown, we talked about it before, that women can beat themselves up over 400 words per minute. I mean, all these words and these impacts are coming at you, and you're feeling, oh my gosh, I'm going to be judged. How did you get over the feeling? Because now this book is going to be published. It can become international, like our other books have become international. What if this hits #1 international bestseller? Because I believe it's going to hit that book, because this book is so powerful. How did you get out of the judgment?
Okay, so I wrote this chapter and I took the plunge into being published because I feel safe that my story is nestled among other wonderful stories. So I don't feel alone. You can't do things alone. And whatever support, whatever community you need to join, whatever you need to feel elevated and supported, that's where it starts. So for me, the fact that it's a chapter inside an anthology, I feel safe, and until it's published, I can't wait, because I can't talk about it yet. Exactly, like the story. Right. You would tell me, I'm like, okay, I still want to stay safe while I can. And yes, you have to read it, because it's a good one. And I've been researching more about this issue I had as a kid, and the president, was it Lincoln? And Susan Summers had that. Michael London from the Little House on the Prairies. Like some famous people came out with this issue that they had growing up, and they had it harder than me, because it's not every parent that deal with this the same way. So anyway, that's just a little cliffhanger again. But to go back to what gave me that courage, yeah, it's just it was feeling supported and being part of a community.
You know, I like how you describe being nestled within the pages. When I talk to people in my office for therapy, one of the things that I go to is identity. Because the belief system that I have is, how can you work through therapy if you don't understand who you are or where your identity is at?
Mm-hmm.
So I try to start with identity and dig in. So as I'm digging out, I put in.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about this support system, how many times do we try to fit ourselves into a community that's just not a good fit? I mean,
Oh,
we look at where you've
yeah.
been,
Mm-hmm.
the nightlife that you created. You were trying to fit into a community that really wasn't supportive,
Oh, for sure.
and it was a way of an escape for you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you meet 30 different people from all over, and thank God for Facebook, because that's how we come together. We're able to talk and meet and chatter, and then we find this community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're able to be accepting and understanding. And that's how we're doing this podcast, because we find each other interesting and what it is that we can help uplift.
Yeah.
It's the artist within us that wants to bring out the artist to our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be an artist. You don't
No.
have to be a person who's an author, but start there. Don't you think that with you journaling help blossom the flower of who you are today as far as the artistry? You said it was very freeing for you.
Yeah. And so while I was journaling and for me, it's really been more drawing. I have the journals here. There's a lot of pages with paint and words and things like that. But let me go back to when I first discovered social media, when I first discovered Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I created a group. I called it the Women of Facebook, and it grew to 7,000 members.
Oh, wow.
And that was my journaling. That was like, learning about these women from all over the world, and learning about their stories and who they were. And this group was just like, I was so involved in it. It's now become, it's now Create to Uplift. And I'm not as active in it because, when it's like that, it has so many members. It's just kind of a place to, go and post if I have events or things like that. But yeah, so I think journaling was also on social media, opening up a little bit at a time. And it doesn't happen overnight. Transformation takes years.
Yes.
Right now, I feel like I'm in a place that I'm leaping right now. It's like leaps and bounds because I'm ready. I feel ready to open up and to reach out and to be available and accessible. And I think when you become that, opportunities show up, and you're there for people, and people know you can't be fake. You cannot fake yourself to being a good person. You can fake it for a little while, but you're gonna be found. You're gonna be found. People are smart. People know. People feel. They have instinct. So the more authentic you are, the better it is. And if it's your time to ask for help, ask for help. If it's your time to support others, you're going to be supporting others. We all have our flow of growing, and self-growth is it's like a little baby plant. It's like just little, it takes time, it takes water, it takes love and care.
Right.
So give yourself grace, and don't expect that everything is gonna happen fast, but one foot in front of the other. Just focus on what's beautiful around you. For me, focusing on my children, oh my gosh, it's just like it helped me to be the person I am today. And I'm still a little bit of a clown. I was saying I used to be the life of the party. And as a little kid, I was, my dad used to call me his little clown. And I love to make people laugh. And so, that's coming back to who you really are as a person is a wonderful thing. But you need to be ready to work.
I think what you shared with me is fantastic. You anticipated my question. You answered my question before knowing what my question really is. It's a therapeutic question that I typically ask most of my clients is this. What you know now, what would you tell your younger self from the knowledge you gain now? Would you done anything different? What would you tell your younger self about this experience?
So what I would tell my younger self is be aware, just embrace your talents and your gifts. Know who you are, and don't just oh my gosh, I want to, I'm getting lost in my thoughts a little bit.
It's okay. And for our audience, I'll give you a little break here. But for our audience, this is not rehearsed. This is a question of spur of the moment because there's some things that she was expounding upon that I think was just fantastic to bring out, because I do want people to know, how do you talk about your younger self? Okay, your light bulb's back on. Go for it, Nathalie.
It's just I wrote this, journaling again. I have chills. Okay,
Sure.
So surround yourself with people who love and support you, and be attentive and present to the people you'll support and elevate with your gifts and talents. I wrote this June 25th. So that's the answer to your question.
Yes.
That's what I would tell my younger self. That's exactly. And I think that's why I feel I'm ready. And because I'm writing those very deep thoughts that if I'm being asked, and I don't want to say that I'm not good with questions, but often I'll think afterwards of what I should have said. But I love conversation. I'm very spontaneous, but sometimes I do get lost in my thoughts, and like anybody else, I get nervous. But
I just have that effect on people. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is about conversation.
Yeah.
It's about helping other people to grow from our growth and what we've done. And I think when I look at the Native American culture, they passed on stories to their generations. I do have some Choctaw in my background, and I like American Native history because of how they told their stories. And it's important that not only that we talk about our story to others and we write where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. But at the same time, I liked what you just expressed. Know who you are. It's important.
Yeah.
And even if you know who you are, be accepting of the changes that's happening to you. And be aware of the negative and the positive, and hopefully going towards the positive light, even though it seems painful at the time, you're going to love yourself.
Yes.
Because how painful was it for you to come out on paper as an artist to express who you are? And now look at who you are. And like you said, you're growing leaps and bounds. And did any of this help you raise your children? Because I like the fact that your husband created the safe place that you would be a good mother. Audience wants to know. We're at our edge of our seats, and we want to know.
Yeah.
How did all of this impact your kids?
I've always been very supportive and loving and understanding. patient. I'm just not good early in the morning. But so my daughter's an artist. She did a bachelor's in art and design, and now she lives in California, but she's not partying. So I was always very honest, to a certain degree with my kids, where I told them, where I live, what I did, and all that. So my daughter always wanted to move to California, so she's there now. And I think my stories of, because it wasn't all like bad or
Right.
dark. It's it was great meeting a lot of amazing people like Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal and just anyway. I think the fun stories kind of got to her, and now she's having a great time in California. And my husband's an entrepreneur. He has 2 businesses, but is a nurse at his foundation. And so my son is going to be an RN in about 3 months.
Awesome.
I think they have high self-esteem because I told them so many times how great they are, how talented and how beautiful they are, and how smart. So they both have huge hearts, and I couldn't be prouder of them, more proud.
And look where it started.
Yeah.
It started by somebody believing in you, that impacted you. Now it's impacted your children, and Lord knows who they're impacting.
Oh, yeah.
And the story just grows and grows. And as Lamb Chop would say, this is the story that goes on and on and on. I mean, it goes on and on. It's just it's phenomenal. Nathalie, thank you so much for your time and inspiration, and definitely look forward to more from you going in the future. I hate that we're running out of time, but as always, thank you so much. Any last words?
No, just thank you so much for having me. And for people listening, find your voice and find your true self, and go get your own leaps and bounds. The world is waiting for you.
Until next time, thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope to have you back next week. Until then, be safe and be kind.